Hello everyone, this is your host, Sharon Serota, and on today's call I'd like to welcome you, Barrett Hedeen.
Hi Sharon.
Hi Barrett. Barrett is the creator of the Witness Energy Healing, a technique to witness the perfection and wholeness that is inside you. As you are witnessed more truly, the shadows and imperfections that you have believed are brought forward and fully released. In their wake is found your inner light, joy, and peace. It has always been there, waiting to be discovered. In addition, Barrett has written 2 books, sharing his connection to his inner guide, Jesus, whom he endearingly calls Jay. His book is called Questions for Jay and the Love That He Gave Me. Barrett turned his questions of pain and sorrow over to Jay and felt words of compassion and grace being returned. The result is a go-to guide for how to return to our peace when the world and its issues are getting us down. His newest book is a collection of poems from the same inspired and joyful self entitled Poems for Jay. And both of these books are available at Amazon.com and also here at Sungates Center. One more thing about Barrett is that he is a certified sixth sensory with Sonia Choquette. He has studied a number of different forms of healing, including quantum touch, shiatsu, qigong, Bowen work, meditation, and more. So welcome, Barrett.
Thank you, Sharon. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. So can you explain to us a little bit about what started you on your wonderful journey?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was kind of searching. I think like a lot of us are. Life sort of made sense, but it sort of didn't. There were a lot of things that I found challenging or didn't make sense, and I started looking. I read a lot of spiritual books and started doing meditation, and these things started to bring me some acceptance, some peace, some joy. And as I went deeper in my journey, I started to learn about energy healing, and that's kind of when my path went a lot deeper. I realized that there's a way for us to shift the blocks and the troubles and the sorrows that we have and we hold inside of us. And as we release them, that all of a sudden we're flooded with grace, we're flooded with happiness, and that joy that we really are is allowed to come to the surface and be experienced. So I've been able to use these techniques on myself, and I can also use them with others to help them find more peace, more happiness, and more contentment in their life.
Wow, that is just amazing. I just love that. And Barrett and I met, and we actually had some sessions together. So I just briefly want to share something. Working with Barrett has been truly transformational for me. And one of the things that he told me was that in one of his visions was there was a horse, and this wonderful horse energy. And, it started out that it was a pony, and then now became a horse. And that gave me the vision for myself that I was no longer the girl sitting on the pony, but rather the woman riding the horse. And there's just so many blessings for that. It just really hit home for me.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. But Barrett, can you share with us what exactly is energy healing?
Yeah, definitely. And just to speak a little bit to your sharing too, you really are standing in your power more and more. And that image of the horse, that strong horse feeling, it feels like you're sharing that in your life. And I just wanted to acknowledge that as we keep going on with this interview.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
But energy healing basically is helping us shift our energy so that we're in alignment with our truth. There are a lot of different models of our energy systems. You may have heard of the chakras, you may have heard of meridians, auras, and a lot of different modalities treat these different systems. But what they all have in common is they're all designed to help us live the life we're supposed to. And when we're not in the connection, when we're not in the flow with those systems, then our life has issues, then our life has pains. We find that things that we're wanting to do aren't really happening. We're finding that we have dreams that just are going unfulfilled. And as we step into the flow in our energy, then what happens is the things in our life find more ease and joy.
That's fantastic, because I know that when I'm feeling good about myself and I'm in alignment, that I know I'm doing the right thing. And that when things are going downward, I know that I need to pick myself up, because otherwise we just keep going in that downward spiral. And the blockages and obstacles that we have in our lives, they need to be removed so that we can experience the joy that we're meant to have being here. But it's also a way for us to learn from our experiences and giving us insight into how we can better deal with that.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of times when people start to have some sort of sickness or sadness or pain coming up in their life, not only do they have that hard experience, but then they judge themselves for having it. They say, oh, I must have done something to bring this onto myself. I must have, I must not be worthy of happiness. And one of the things that I teach, and I really am working my best to live this, is that you are worthy of only happiness. You are worthy of only joy. And that all of the issues and problems that we have, when we look at them that way, they can actually be seen as opportunities. And they can be seen as an opportunity for us to realize that we can release them, we can find some happiness on the other side of them.
Right, because I know that whenever we experience issues and challenges in our lives, they present to us as obstacles, and it's how we deal with them. It's how we perceive them, because everybody might perceive the same obstacle differently. So it's our own personal journey, it's our own personal way of handling it. And at times, we need to reach out to other people for support, for help, and to help us release that. So that we can move on, because we're always going to be challenged with things, and we continuously need to have that help.
Yeah, and I think that that's a great way of looking at it, and a great kind of undergirding of what we've been talking about. The energy that I try to bring to all of my sessions and workshops is the energy of the heart. There's a place of kindness, a place of joy that dwells at the deepest level of every heart. And if we're not feeling it in our heart, it really just means that in some way we've hidden it away. And so by bringing that kind of quality to the sessions that I do, what happens is the hard edges start to soften, the icy spots start to melt, and no matter how hard the ice is in our hearts or elsewhere in us, if we have consistent, gentle warmth, that ice will melt.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the idea.
Because living your life, heart-based versus from the brain, from your head, there's a lot of different changes, a lot of choices that you may make differently, if they are heartfelt, heart-based. And a lot of times we put up blockages in front of our heart, like a heart wall, or just something that blocks us from really living the life that we so deserve to be living. They say it's our birthright, but it's ways that we need to overcome these challenges and to remove those obstacles and blockages. And I know, Barrett, you were interested in doing a guided meditation for us, for our listeners, to help us feel that wonderful love and heartfelt compassion. So can you go ahead and do that for us?
That'd be great. Thank you. So everyone, wherever you are, just take a moment to settle into your seat and begin to listen to your breathing. Just noticing the in-breath and the out-breath without needing to change it in any way. And as we focus on the breath, we begin to notice the heart. We begin to notice a quiet, still space within. And from this quiet space begins to flow forward a multitude of stars, sparkling and shining, carrying with them a sense of cleansing, a sense of healing, a sense of gentle joy. And these stars travel all through our body, from our head all the way down to our toes. And just for a few moments, let these stars travel to any part of your body that needs some extra love, that needs some extra compassion. And while the stars are moving through that area, just feel that compassion melting into that space. And we'll just take about a minute here in silence to allow this experience to continue unfolding. If your mind begins to wander, just bring it back, continuing to feel the gentle cleansing. Continuing to notice your breathing. Continuing to feel the joy gently moving through your body. Knowing that in this moment, everything is all right. Knowing that right now, there's nothing that needs to be changed or fixed. That in this moment we are whole. And we give gratitude for this experience, this gentle healing that has swept through our body, swept through our soul, taking with it anything that no longer serves us, allowing us to set down any pieces of pain or struggle or strife that we no longer need. And so we give thanks to the Spirit that moves through us, that dwells in us. knowing that it guides us and supports us in every aspect of our lives. And now, as we continue being aware of the breathing, we begin to come back into the space around us, noticing our surroundings once again, coming back into the room with a sense of gentleness carrying over from this meditation, knowing that it will be with us throughout the whole day and beyond.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow, I feel joyful. I feel at peace. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for leading us through that wonderful meditation.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, one of the questions I have for you is, how does mediumship work? And if you can explain a little bit about what that really means too.
Yeah, one of the aspects of the energy healing that I do is that sometimes spirits who crossed over come through, and messages or emotions or things that need to be shared come through to be shared. So mediumship itself is that act of connecting to people who have crossed over, made their transition from the physical, and are now in the spirit level. And that is an aspect of the energy healing work that I do. As you mentioned before, the name of the healing work I do is the Witness Energy Healing. And my whole purpose is to really be a witness to the spirit that dwells in you. And as you're on your healing journey, sometimes loved ones who have already made their transition are an important part of your healing, and so they'll make a visit and they'll have something to share. So that's definitely something that can happen. It's not something I know exactly when it's going to come forward, but it sometimes is a part of the healing sessions that I do. The healing sessions are based on the idea that you are perfect, whole, and complete, that there is nothing wrong with you whatsoever. Now, obviously, that's not most of our experiences of life. We often have problems or issues or pains that we're trying to deal with. So what does this mean then, that we're whole and perfect? Well, it means that our belief in pain is a big part of the experience of pain, and that as we begin to question that underlying idea that we are worthy of pain, what happens is our experiences of pain can sometimes change. They can sometimes melt. They can sometimes be released. We have a capacity to experience only happiness. Now, I would say that's kind of like the end stage of the journey. There are people like Jesus or Buddha or other mystics who have achieved that state, and it is something that is achievable by all of us. But in order to do that, we need to let all of our false ideas, all of our beliefs in pain or suffering come forward so that we can set them down. And as they're released, what comes forward is that natural joy that shines in everyone. As we were talking about, it's in our heart, it's in our soul, it's the makeup of the fabric of our self. And that can come forward and just be shared with joy and gratitude.
Right. And, a lot of times when we feel a pain, like if there's some trauma or something dramatic that happens to us, there could be a disease. It could be something like a car accident. It could be something that causes us distress in our lives. But this is a way for things to be communicated to us that helps us to learn about what we need to change, what we need to experience to be able to change that and to grow into the joy and light that we're meant to have. So it's just a knock on the door to say, okay, the first time you're going to, stub your toe. And then, if that's not enough and you don't get the lesson, or you're not really understanding what it is you need to learn at that time, let's say, you break a leg, so it seems to keep knocking on our door to say, okay, you're not getting it, and, it's letting us know that what we need to work on. So is this something that you're able to help us, with that on our journey to say, okay, this is the lesson that we're working on, and, this energy could be coming from here, or across the veil. Right. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And I think, to go on with what you're saying, this idea that, believe it or not, pain can actually be seen as a gift. That we can, when we look at it from this perspective of it's trying to teach us something, there's something for us to learn, then we can actually see what we would normally call an obstacle as an opportunity. We can see what we would normally say is something bad as an opportunity to grow. And when we have that perspective, not only are we often able to move through the challenges more easily, but we find that we don't suffer quite as much. Because you probably heard the expression, what you resist persists.
That's for sure. Or what you think about comes about. So even our thoughts, they could have, it could not be a good thought, but we can change our idea about that thought or about something that happened. So we actually change the charge that we associate with a certain thought or a certain person. And so, why put it out there into the universal thought is what I call it. And, we want to put more positive things out, because as much as we all go through, we want to be able to help each other and help serve other people and help ourselves along the way. So I know you've written a couple of books. Could you tell me about your book, Questions for Jay?
My book, Questions for Jay, is basically a sort of conversation between me and my inner guidance. Jay, as you mentioned, is short for Jesus. He is my inner teacher, my guide. That idea that Christ is what is within all of us. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with Christianity. You don't have to believe in any religion to know that there's a light that shines in your soul. So whatever words you use are perfect around that. But for me, he's my teacher. And I ask questions. I sometimes feel like I was falling off the path or struggling in my life, and a lot of the questions are around that. How do I find that happiness I know is always there? And maybe I'll just read a little sample from the book.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Because I know, first of all, before you start with that, we need to keep asking questions. We need to ask of that of ourselves. Even in our own, personal, private time. Just keep asking until we get the guidance. And it's from our inner guidance, and it's also from the heart. It's from Source, from the Spirit. So, and the thing is that once you ask the question and you get these answers, it's to also react to that and take some action regarding it. So, but keep asking, right?
I think that's a great example. And one of the things that sometimes happens as a spiritual teacher is that people come to me asking for answers to their questions. But really my biggest purpose is to help them find that inner voice within, to help them find their own inner guide. Because then they don't need to come to me. They can listen within and find that joy for themselves. So I've heard it said that the best teachers try to make themselves so that they're not needed anymore. And that's really my goal, is to help people find these resources, because when you find it inside your own heart, then you're never without it. Wherever you are in your life, you've got an arrow that's kind of pointing you in the right direction, helping you to know this is the path I should be on, this is where I need to be, and helping you to grow and to experience all of who you are.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. That's wonderful. And since I was a little girl growing up, everyone's heard the expression, when you teach someone how to fish, right? They're going to have fish for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Rather than if you just give that to them, then what do they have the next day?
Exactly.
So it's great that as a teacher that, we're able to help our students.
Yeah.
And sometimes the student becomes the teacher.
Right.
And we just keep learning.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Yeah, my teachers are often my students in the sense that I'm always learning. And I think when we can have that perspective that everyone has something to give to us, something that we can take as a gift, it really makes life fun because we're always looking like, well, what's there for me to learn in this situation? How can I gain some peace or some happiness by this exchange? Right.
And every moment there's always a gift. There's a gift in the moment, and just figuring it out as to why is this happening? Why did this have to happen the way it did? And we may not realize it, but sometimes we need to have more elaboration around it, and the gift of someone else helping us on that journey.
Yeah. So, to share something from my book, it's basically a question I asked and the answer that came through. So the question is, how can I bring my love in the optimal manner to those in my life? Share the gentle peace when it arises within you, blessing the spirit you see in your brother and all around. For as you perceive that which seems to be outside of you, will you see yourself. Shine the joy in your heart upon all that is before you, so that you see the beauty joyfully shine in your heart and mind.
Oh, that is absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Because, I always think that, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But when you shine that out, you also get that back.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just being mindful and using your heart, in many situations, and just giving out the love, because that's what you will get back. What you put out there, you receive back, no matter what it is, right? So why not put the good stuff out there?
Yeah.
Right? And release the judgments. We don't have to be judgmental about everything, because we know what, we think about comes about. It comes right back to us, So that's good. Thank you for sharing from your book.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then you also have a new book, Poems for Jay.
Yeah, Poems for Jay is a collection of poetry that I've written. And again, it's really to that inner guidance. And would you like to hear one?
I would love to hear something from your book.
Right. There is no need to suffer. It is merely a choice. But in order to leave it, you must hear a voice. It's the urging for God, who is never alone, urging you, reaching you, please come back home. Ah, but this tale as well is not fully true, for God is still with you, whatever you do. You think you're unworthy and have done things bad, but listen to heaven. You're with your dear dad. The happiness he feels for having you there will never diminish, being beyond compare. So celebrate together, as you have always been. The love is still there, as the fear does thus end.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Because I know that people have different fears in their life, and it's easy for someone to say, oh, well, you don't have to fear that. But to you, or to me, oh my gosh, it's my fear, it's my thing. And look how big it is, right? It's not yours, but it's mine. And I'm claiming it's mine, but I shouldn't even be doing that. But, we do have fears in our lives.
Right.
And these are things that, can be overcome.
Yeah.
Correct?
And I think it's a great point, is that when we're in the fear, it always seems big. It always seems insurmountable or hard to deal with, or a challenge that we've worked on, but it's still sticking around. From the loving perspective, it almost always looks more peaceful and easygoing and possible to shift out of. And like you said, that's why helping other people sometimes is really valuable, because we can't always see from where we are that the path is like straight ahead of us. It looks like it's totally blocked off. So another set of eyes oftentimes will help us to see, okay, here's the path. This is what I'd like to do, and I can make it there.
Right, absolutely. And again, that's looking at the support, looking at other people in our lives that could help us with that. And, what would be a good way for someone just starting out to get in touch with their spirit or intuitive sense?
Well, meditation is a great tool. This meditation that we did today is something that can be listened to again and again. Something as simple as just like 5 minutes or so in the morning, just to let the mind start to settle. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, I've tried meditating, but it just doesn't work. My mind is so busy. Well, I've been meditating for over 10 years, and my mind still does that. So don't let that be a deterrent to meditating. A lot of what meditation does is it starts to clear out the path. You can think of all of us as though we're a channel, and the channel has gotten kind of clogged. It's clogged with our fears, with our beliefs, with a lot of different ideas that we have about what we are or what the world is. And what I think of meditation as is it's a way for those clogged thoughts to kind of start to flow downstream. And we can kind of let them go a bit. And what happens is there starts to be more flow, because there is a gentle flow that's within all of us that's ready to take us through life. But for almost all of us, there's at least some way that we're resisting that flow. And if you think of something moving downstream like a log, it just flows with the water. It doesn't try to make anything happen. It just goes where the flow takes it. And we can be more in the flow, so that we're not efforting as much in our lives, where we're just taking action where it feels connected and right. And that's an experience, that's a way of living that has less pain and struggle in it than kind of the default way that we've all been raised and lived our pretty much our whole lives.
Wow, that is great. Great to know. And I think about being in the ebb of flow. Mm-hmm. That if there's things that are not in alignment with us, that we're not in the flow. Mm-hmm. So having those thoughts, if you think about the river, mm-hmm. What does the river do? It just naturally flows its natural path. Yeah. And think of the leaves. There could be leaves settling down on top of the river, and it goes down the river. And as you have a thought, you can place that thought on the leaf and let it continue down the river and let it go. And then as the next one comes, you can place that on another leaf and keep it going and flowing down the river.
That's beautiful.
So that way you could release the thoughts from your mind as you work through your meditations.
I love that. That's perfect. The other thing I would say for people starting out on their path is to find people who are maybe in that role and they can teach and guide you. I think we'll be talking about it more as we go, but I do lead a number of classes and workshops to help people get in touch with their intuition, to help them find their natural gifts that are really indwelling. There's really no one who is without intuition, without an ability to tap into their truth. Some of us are probably aware of it more than others, but wherever you are in your journey, there is a way for you to open up further to this. So
I was just about to ask you about that, how to get in touch with your intuition. So you've just about answered that, which is great. And we talked about people who may have some grief in their lives, like they may be grieving. Mm-hmm. How can you use this to comfort someone who is grieving?
Well, I think grief is a hard topic. Pretty much everyone in life has had someone close to them pass or transition. And it does tie a little bit back into the mediumship I was talking about. What I've found is that from the spiritual perspective, we can start to see that even though they're not here in the physical, it doesn't mean they're not still with us. So this is one of the ideas that I teach a lot, and I help people start to get a real sense of, because when we can know that our loved ones are still here with us, it feels less lonely. It feels less tragic. It feels less painful. There's almost always sadness that accompanies a transition of someone, and it's perfectly appropriate. Oftentimes in the grieving process, what happens is we at some point decide we don't want to grieve anymore. And then what happens is our emotions get kind of bottled up. So I'd like to kind of lead just a little exercise here for everyone listening, just to go within and to let someone come to mind who is no longer here in the physical. As that person is in your mind, what are you noticing in this moment? Are there feelings of openness and happiness? Are there feelings of tightness and tension? Maybe there's some emotions coming up right now. What I'd encourage you to do is to let that come forward. One of the hardest things that we all do to ourselves is to hold back emotions that just want to be seen, they just want to come forward and be expressed. So just give yourself a little breathing room for this feeling. It might be some sort of tension. Whatever you're feeling in this moment is perfect. And if there are some tears coming to your eyes, let them flow. And know that in this moment, that you are not alone. This person who's come to mind is actually with you. And I mean that in a very real sense. I mean that in a sense of the truth of what you are. The spirit that you are is not separate from the spirit that they are. The heart that you are is not separate from the heart that they are. The love that is in your heart is not separate from the love that is in theirs. By accepting this on a deeper level, we can come to know that it's okay for us to shed any tears. It's okay for us to feel whatever feelings we are having. And it's okay for us to accept this perspective that we don't need to feel cut off. We don't need to feel removed. That they are actually always present. And if in some way it feels right for you to call on them, or just to say hello to them, always feel free to do that. Our loved ones that we connect with are always open to us saying hello, even if it's just within our mind. That connection is always waiting for us, and it's always open and available. And this simple exercise is something that you can do again and again. It will help clear any old unexpressed grief. It will help those emotions move through. And what you'll find as you let go of these energies is that your natural joy is more and more present, because it's sort of been like behind this experience of this trauma that hasn't totally healed. And as that melts away, the love just comes forward.
Wow, that is fantastic. What a great exercise. Yeah. And, for me, I feel like I'm teary-eyed from that, because I was thinking about my grandpa Joe, and he passed away when I was in high school. And so that was a long time ago. But anyway, and I remember when my mom had me go up to the room, and he was actually staying in our house for some time, he wasn't doing very well. And she said, why don't you go up and talk to him? So I went upstairs, went into the bedroom, and I just sat on the edge of the bed, and we talked, and we talked. And, first I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about, or, but it was absolutely wonderful, and it was a great memory, and I thought I had, figured things out then, as we all do, and, we're teenagers, but anyway, it was just a good suggestion that my mom had, to go speak with him. And I was thinking about him when you said, now just think about that person. And, the message that I received is that, even though he's passed on, he's in the other world, that it was just a personality of his. It was just a face that he had when he was here. So the message for me was that he's moved on from that point, and that even though he was in my life as my grandpa, and that he's doing other things now, that was just a face that he had during that time. So that was the message that I received, which was very interesting.
Nice.
But because when we move on, this is not all that we have. This is not all what we see is that there is.
Yeah.
And we know that there's another whole energy world. And this is just a part of it.
Yeah.
And, we've been here many times. And, we just keep moving ahead with our growth, our soul growth.
Yeah.
And being part of spirit, being all connected as one.
Yeah. Well, that ties perfectly into another big part of the work that I do, is helping people look at past lives. So we can look at all of these lifetimes as one soul after another, and that we can heal the issues from from this lifetime as well as previous lifetimes that are affecting us in the present moment, so that we can have that experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know through Sungates Center that Barrett could be reached, and he's also holding a class for us here on October 23rd, which is a Thursday, from 7 to 9 p.m. and it's called A Soul's Journey, helping people uncover their lives.
Yeah, and it's going to be focused on past lives and clearing through any issues from those lifetimes that are ready to heal. So yeah, the cost for that's going to be $20, and it'd be great to see you there.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Barrett. And also, you're available for individual sessions as well, and through Sungates you have a special promotion.
Yeah, for this month only, for anyone interested, I'm offering one of my hour-long energy healing past life reading sessions that normally go for $197 for about half off, $100 off, only $97 for the first session.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity. Great opportunity for our listeners to come in and experience that with you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barrett.
Yeah, you're welcome. And another great way to get a hold of me is through my website. It is just my name, www.barretthedeen.com. That's BarretHedeen.com. And feel free to call me directly as well at 847-951-6328.
Okay. Well, Barrett, in closing, do you have any other thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, I would just say that whenever something is coming up in your life that might be a little challenging, that you can always go into your heart. You can always go into that quiet, soft space at the center of your being and take a few breaths. Rest there for just even a little while, or longer if you have the time. And what you'll find is that you have a sense of well-being that'll take you through the issues that are facing you in your life. And from that place, there's really nothing that you can't handle and make it through.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, I can relate to that. Just relaxing and going into our breath and, just quieting down for just a few moments, right?
Yeah.
And just gathering ourselves back together again. So perfect. Well, I want to thank you so much, Barrett. Thank you for being on our radio show today.
You're very welcome.
And I want to thank our listeners for joining us. And, Have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right, bye now.
Bye.